Here's my jig for the engine to lift it. So it's quite straightforward. Say that's taken me bloody ages, but handle on each end, got to be detachable of course because they won't go through the frame. There's a little stub underneath there that goes on the engine, and then this one here which will be fixed via straps against it. This is so as you can twist the engine. We need to twist the engine that way and lift it. All in all, a bastard thing to get out because the back is so tight, and as I say, there's a sump underneath there. Obviously it's completely, some people make them really long and wide, but I didn't see any need to make this side wide. Just screws at your room you got. That one's wide because we've got to pass the engine all the way out. The engine I think is about 22 inches wide, so it's a fat bastard. And then once I've got it out, I'll make a trestle up to sit it on here before I move the bike out of the way, and then square it up in the middle. So all in all, that piece of wood's done a good job, and it's taken a little bit of messing around just to try and get it so as it would sit right on the engine. You have to I had to cut out a little bit around here and take the timing retention unit off, timing chain retention unit off. But generally, it sits there perfectly now. As I say, the big handles are really so as you can twist it. Not really looking forward to getting it out, but I suppose once I've done it, I'll be alright. I'm going to enlist the help of my bubble man. It's Sue's daughter's husband, so we're in a bubble with him. So I can use him to lift it. All he's got to do is stand that end, lift it, and let me jiggle it and get it through. And hopefully we'll get it out. If I had to carry out a modification of this bike, if you were racing one, I think you'd split the down tube and put a detachable down tube on it, which looks perfectly plausible. Sleeve it with a couple of bits, that would be strong enough, but I suppose it would take the bit of the flex out of it, and it might handle even, mind you couldn't handle much more of a wobbly thing. But say this connection comes off, a plate comes off here, so you've got space, but as I say, it's got to, from memory, it's got to come right up about here, and the studs are always going to be a problem because they're so tight to the frame. And then, as I say, this one's out of the way, so you've got clearance. So she's just held in with two bottom ones at the moment, which are just sitting there with the weight, and then I'll give it a go shortly. So that's where I am today. All I do is clear up the sawdust that's in the garage, and I'm on to the next stage then. Right, here we are with our engine out. So we've got a Time Sert has been fitted in this piston. That was a nice and easy job, so easy that you sort of you stop and ask yourself, is that it? Don't have to hit it with something, don't have to drift it in or something, but no, that's pretty much the way it goes. I've got all of the gasket on order, so that's as needs be. I'm probably going to have, hopefully in the gasket set we'll have all these O-rings. If not, I'll have to source some of those, because that one's stuck in there, but the others are in the bottom of the valve cover thingies, I think. All the gaskets and obviously everything's, the inside of the engine looks pretty much brand new. All the hones, the bores are good and everything. But obviously what I want to do is clean up the engine, paint it whilst it's out, and maybe go into the gearbox. That's another story. It's been running rich as anything by the looks of it, but that's probably just where I've been faffing around trying to start it. But we will embark on a further cleaning today. As I say, the Time Sert is in. That was a bit of a result. I did research. Time Sert was the really the obvious choice. Helicore's not very good. Well, it's fine. Neil, my friend has advised me that he's got a helicoil that's been in one of his bikes for 10 years and it's never given any problems, but Time Sert is the better option. So he had the kit. It's about 180, 150 quid, I think, 150 quid plus probably. I was very fortunate that I rang him up and said, "Hey, what's your advice?" And he said, "I've got one, do this." So whizzed over and picked it up yesterday and whacked the Time Sert in last night. The plug's just whacked in just for the sake of it at the moment, I think. Just to check that it's actually screwed in, which should do beforehand. But the Time Sert's a peculiar sort of, it's just a cone of coil with a special tool that actually opens it once it's in to jam it into the thread. Really neat, I have to say. If there was a downside, well, it's not a downside, but I just noticed it did sort of protrude into the spark plug area, but that's about the same as it was before. So I'm going to give this a clean up today, and hopefully that will put us in a position where we can go forward. These dust, you know, again, this hopefully this all come in the full engine kit. I've just ordered a full kit just in case I take the bottom of the engine off. These caps go on there, obviously just oil caps. Strangely, on the head block, these two, because you sort of look and think, well, surely that should have some sort of collar. And I thought, have I dropped something? And I was pretty meticulous when I took it off, but these two and these two have got no collar and no seal. These two exterior ones have, but you'll notice that that wouldn't fit on there anyway. It doesn't fit. And when I check on the head, the corresponding area of the head, I won't flick it all over again, but there's like a sooted area. You can see it's not been, there's nothing on there. There is nothing that sort of fits in there, or certainly nothing was in there before. So hey ho, that's what it is. As I say, this black paint, I've got to research actually, because Neil said, well, they're all silver, those engines, but I think the F1s were black on the fins were black, but either way I can't get this black off, not without monstrous, well, I'd have to get it blasted. I can't be arsed with that. That's not what the bike is. That said, I've got some VHT, it's called VHT paint, very high temperature paint. So I'll get it cleaned off, stink the place out, and hopefully we'll have an engine looking like a shiny new one when it goes back in. That's assuming it doesn't all just sort of fall apart and go bang when I try and start it. But we live in hopes. And that's it for now. I've got to give it a clean. Right, here we have it. Engine's had a coat of paint, really, just because it had been painted before, short of having it stripped and blasted, which would be a monumental job. I know I've got it out, but I'm a bit dubious about taking the whole thing to bits. So it's just brightened up. The head, as we had the time seal done, I've got a problem with one chewed up. It is chewed up as well. All the other exhaust rings have popped out nicely. Don't know whether they're supposed to be threaded or pinged in. I think I just push in. This one is chewed up terribly. Whether I leave it in or do anything with it, I'm not quite sure yet. So really, once we've got the gasket set now, so it'll be a case of putting the cover on and putting it all back together again today, assuming I can get that dreadful little piece out. I'll have a look at it. I'll give it a clean up with a piece of cloth. Undecided because the head's obviously had some paint before. Dubious about painting it, to be honest. Might just leave it as is. The head's a bit that gets a lot of heat, I suppose, and if it's had some paint in there, I think I'll just leave it as is. It's all relatively clean, it's all clean and tidy. I'm just sort of bumble through this last bit now and see if I can get this collar out. I think I've got some new ones in the gasket set, which is here, and amongst this gasket set there is these 4 bits, which I'm sure are for that. Got a new stud for the stud that chewed up, and everything else should fly together. That's just a gasket for, believe it or not, flasher lamp, front flasher lamps. Got no gasket. So. All being well and good, we should make some progress. Let's see how we get on. Now at the point where we've got everything back together, checked and double checked, blah blah blah. It's had a coat of well, not a coat, it's had a bit of a tinkering with the sort of cleaning oily rag. The engine's all back in. Little bit of a concern about the this gasket, which was not a great fit, that one. Everything else was fine. Which of course is going to be a ball ache if it does leak, because we'll have to pop the thing out again. But everything has gone to plan. The only real issues I had were the carburetors, which were past their sell-by date really. I think the slider number 2 is shot basically. So maybe that'll be a thing for another day. Engine's had a coat of paint, and that's only aerosol. I suspect it'll, first time it gets grubby, it's just going to all blast off. But it was black, and it's supposed to be silver, which we've now got it silver. Checked, done bits of wiring, lots of little jobs, in addition to the Time Sert thing. So it's run up. It seems okay. So really, the next trick is to give it a good road test, which will doubtless leave me, if it leaves me with an issue, I should be sobbing, but that's part and parcel, I suppose. Little things that have really pleased me to get sorted out. Indicators, as I say, the wiring, somebody had chopped the wiring through under the seat here. It's like 2 looms, but God knows what they've done, but a whole sea of bullet connectors, which have done away with those. And everything seems to be right. Carb's balanced, good compression. I mean, it's very good compression, so that much I'm pleased with. The exhaust is really on its last legs, but we'll replace that when it gives up. Rerouting of the fuel line was an absolute trauma. I'm still not happy with the fact that it pushes off there. It's forced against this cover, but it basically goes straight back through this, I'll call it a manifold, and then comes along the top, which, as you can see, is not perfect. I'm still not happy with it, but before it went underside, which read all the forums, it's like, no, that's no good, because it starves it. Well, it certainly seemed to get starved when it was running low on fuel. It's, well, if proof of the pudding will be in the eating, but it's not stressed there so much. It's just stressed around here, which really is a mystery to me, because that really is so tight. But then again, they would probably used softer piping. This is relatively thick, heavy piping. It all seems to be on there, so you know, it's sitting, because this tank the tank floats on rubber, so it's not like it's forcing it round a corner, so there's not going to be an issue with the tap. That is essentially a new petrol tap inside there, so we will see what we will see. Chains on. I'm not bothered cleaning wheels, but the rest of it has been had a good old dust over, so for now it's going to be laid in the garage until the weather brightens. We've got wet, grizzly weather. It's Christmas now, so I'm not going to bother taking it up the road until we get some dry, clear weather. And that hopefully will be that. and we live in hopes that she will start and run like a reliable bike, as they should be, but we will see.